Hello, this is Philippe Gerwill. I'm a member of the advisory board at DeHealth. And today we have another interview with the exceptional guest, with Renate Strazdina. So Renate, nice to meet you again after our short talk in Malta at the MedTech World. So now we have a little bit more time to get some more insight from your side. So Renate, if maybe the best is if you introduce yourself, and your role and your maybe also your experience before we go in some more precise questions.
Thank you, Philippe, and thank you for inviting me for this interview. And really, it was so nice to meet you in person back in Malta. And I think also Malta conference was all about inspiration, all about learning what we can do with technology, how we can really work together to deliver better care for patients. So I'm very happy to be here. A couple of words about me. I'm working for Microsoft, and I'm responsible for healthcare and life science industry, specifically for customer transformation for the EMEA region. I'm coming from Latvia, and I spent all my professional life in advisory in IT in different combinations. My background is computer science, but already from 2004, I'm working with different healthcare and life science customers. So it's quite a long journey, and I'm happy to see how we together are developing both industries, not only healthcare, but of course also we are developing IT industry within it. Yes, what else about me? What I wanted to mention that I am also not only business practitioner and working with customers, but I'm still working with students, doctors to be and doctors that are already working. And I'm delivering lessons on what technologies can give and bring for them.
A wonderful introduction, and I'm very happy to hear that because it looks like we are sharing a lot in common. I also do. So Renate, for more than 20 years, you have been advising customers on digital transformation journeys in various industries because, again, you're at Microsoft, but you have also some experience with some, I would say, big consulting companies, like Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers. So recently more focusing on healthcare, beside other industry, or if not saying mainly healthcare. Especially with just what you just said, also about your activities, with students. So how do you consider nowadays the state of progress in that industry? What is what are we lacking, and what is maybe also impressive to have both sides of the equation?
Yeah, it is a very good question. And as I said already, so I started my journey with healthcare and then moved to life science also back in 2004. And I really can see the progress that we have made together. And I will talk about this, I think, many more times today during our discussion, that this is what we were able to achieve working together. IT industry, healthcare, life sciences, also policy makers, also academia. And if I look at the biggest breakthroughs maybe so far that are somehow really impressing me, I would say the first one, and on one hand, it seems very simple nowadays, but this is telemedicine. When I'm looking how accessible right now doctors and specialists can be, also for those that are maybe living not in the city but outside, or those who cannot be so flexible in terms of where they can go. I think this is something that we should be happy about. Of course, there is a long way to go, but I think there is a great progress that we have made. Second one that I will mention will be about genomics and all what we can do with genomic data. And this is really impressive. And mostly because of the progress of technologies, and more to come here. It's very, very obvious. And the third thing that I would mention would be capable we are in using artificial intelligence in diagnostics, provision of better care, etc., etc. And I still remember my student years where we were talking about decision support systems in healthcare, mostly theoretical. And it seemed something that is, far, far away. But nowadays we know how to use it and we are getting better. So all in all, I think from my experience, almost 20 years, and I see great progress. On the other hand, there are many things that we still need to do. And maybe we can discuss this later, but I think the building of right partnerships, because healthcare system is very, very complex. Only healthcare professionals cannot solve it. Only policymakers and healthcare professionals cannot solve it. So we need technology providers, we need healthcare specialists and experts, we need policymakers, we need to have academia and more and more. And I think this is maybe, if there is one thing that I would focus on, then this is building the right partnerships and really working together.
Thank you very much. I think I really like the discussion, and I may now follow up on the classical questions because I have already a lot just to follow with the flow, with what you just have started. So I think you mentioned three very interesting points, so let's start with the first one, on telemedicine and all that. And I think it's also, there's a lot about also educating the people, and when I say the people, is the patient, but also, the doctors. And we started the discussion early on with that, because things are going so quickly. And I have the feeling we are also living a time, you mentioned, early years. In the early years, quite often the technology was not ready for what the people needed in the business. And now I have the feeling we go now in the opposite direction. Technology could do much more, but the business is not ready. So what is your impression on that side,
I agree. First of all, I agree that the technology is ready, and maybe on a healthcare specialist side, so we see some reluctance. There are those that are pioneering and going ahead, and those that are a little bit, more on a not even on a skeptical side, but more cautious. And I think it's very explainable, or there is explanation, because, and you mentioned already education, and how skilled people are. We cannot assume that everybody knows and is an expert of how to use one or another technology. And what we need to do, we need to make sure that we have all the support system, all the training, learning systems, so that also healthcare professionals can learn, can understand and evaluate which are those technologies that are useful and are really helping them and will help as the result patients, and which are those that they are not interested to use. And I think this reluctance, in a way, can be related to time and ability to learn something new. All doctors are so much into their primary work, serving patients and taking care of them, that we need to find a space together for them to learn and absorb these new technologies so that they can utilize this even more.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because that's on one side the doctors, and the HCPs are too busy. I have the feeling when I go to the doctor, it's like at the American border, it's like next, next, next. And at what time can they have the time? Could they take time to catch up, to develop themselves and educate themselves? And again, I think it's a thin line to find, between, taking this time. I think even for them to have this time, there is also only technology, because they will have no time to travel like to to the capital of their country and get some big conference training, whatever. I think also they will need to have these new technologies, to help them to catch up.
Yes, I agree. And this is what I meant by these support and learning systems, that we also as a technology providers, and together with policymakers, with academia, we can provide learning and development system that is easy to access, easy to use, and there is a very clear link. So it's not theoretical, it's a very clear link to what they can immediately use, so that both doctors and patients see, oh, it really makes a difference. Now I can securely call my doctor, GP. I can have a conversation. I know that she or he will have access to my data. So, and then it immediately makes an impact. So I think we need to think about the end state while we are forming those and developing those learning systems. We need to think, so what is the end state of this? How we will show the real impact.
Yeah, and again, I think you're an expert in that as well. I think we're not talking about just iterative changes. It's really new business models. We have the opportunity, with the help of the technology, to develop completely new business model, and not just slight changes. Not just replacing the phone by a video conference, but they are really new opportunities. And just one example I take quite often from something I have experienced. Some years ago, already in London, I met, he's now a friend of mine, Professor Shafi Ahmed. I don't know if you know Professor Shafi Ahmed, but he's the most watched surgeon in the world. And when I met him, he's giving classes, to students, like we mentioned before. So really surgery, hands-on classes with VR glasses and stuff like that. So he was one of the first doing that. And the first time I met him, I was thinking, yeah, maybe he has like 100 students in a few countries. Indeed, he's giving classes with more than thousands of students attending in 140 countries. So just imagine, without technology, we are talking about years of training if you would have to do that in a face-to-face class, So I think that's the kind of size, that, technology can bring. And now maybe we could move already, to something more about your company, about Microsoft. Because of course, when I talk about, those technologies and also, VR glasses and all that kind of things. So of course, so the question is, first, let's say for the audience, a simple one, why brands like Microsoft, which are of course innovative, but also mature, international, but not originally in the healthcare business, why they are more and more coming into that industry?
So I will start with that Microsoft have been working in healthcare industry and life science industry actually for a very long time. And I know how many of you who are listening know about Microsoft Research, but Microsoft Research is working on different healthcare and life science projects already for decades. So it's not something new for us. And why we are doing this? Because we truly believe that technology can make better care and more accessible care possible on both. So it's better on one side, but on other side, this is accessibility. And this is what we are doing, and this is how we see that we can actually contribute. And there are many programs, those that are purely research, those that are research, like applied research, and then of course we are investing in our platforms and products in order our customers and our partners who are developing services can again develop services that will improve access to care and also will be able to provide better care.
Yeah, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but you know that I have also worked for years, in IT, in a big pharma company. And quite often everybody talks about the projects. Projects are the interesting work and all that. But projects are only feasible if you have a smooth running operation. So the whole infrastructure, IT infrastructure, everything, is working. You don't have to care about, and then you can build on top of that new interesting stuff. And I think that's also my feeling about Microsoft. Microsoft, of course, is also here to ensure, that the infrastructure today, of course, the infrastructure is more talking about cloud, Azure and all that. So Microsoft is delivering also those kind of capabilities. And now even Microsoft themselves can move, more into research, business oriented, because the infrastructure is there.
Yeah, you are very right, and I think all of us who have been in project development and product development, so we know that if we need to also fix basics and start to build from the scratch, it takes a lot of time, and actually it also eats a lot of energy and creativity, because you need to just set up the basics. And our platforms like Cloud for Healthcare or genomic services. So this is something that we are offering already to our customers and partners, so that they can build on top of this one or two very innovative and specific solutions or services in healthcare and life science space. And this is not only about the platform and infrastructure as such, and we will most probably touch health data subject many times during our discussion today. And this is also about having common data model, because we nowadays, in order to make all those nice things happen, in order to make artificial intelligence, we need seamless data integration. If we do not have this, then we will spend a lot of time just, again, fix the basics. But this is what we are offering through our platforms, that you can have the infrastructure, but there is also seamless integration of all those siloed data sources that we typically have in healthcare systems.
Yeah, and I think you're right. We are going to talk probably much more about this data discussion, because I think that's one very key point for us also at DeHealth, of course, but that's exactly where companies like Microsoft can bring a lot of support, because you have the data and the data experience. That's the point. Now a lot of pharma companies have decided to go that way, talking about data scientists, AI and all that. And a lot of them have already failed because of that, because they think it's so easy, So, and again, you mentioned before, data, common data definition, things like that. They all think we have this kind of black box, AI, you put the data and the wonder is coming out. And I still believe, despite a lot of companies selling, that AI can do everything, I still think we need a kind of structured data. And it's not only that we need it, it needs to be defined at the time we extract. You need to know what you want to do with the data so that you can use it afterwards. And I'm not a big believer in this black box, So what is your point of view from your personal point of view and Microsoft point of view in terms of this say black box or structured data?
Yeah. So here I will start with one personal story in relation to this, and then I will go to my point of view. I think it was very early 2000. Year 2000. Then when I delivered my first lesson on data and information quality for master level students. And then it was just one lesson in a bigger course. And it was relatively easy to prepare it. And it was good for 90 minutes. And that's it. So because, I was talking about data quality frameworks. There were a couple of them. What does it mean? So how you are doing application controls, things like that. So quite simple. No, 20 years later, I am also delivering the same subject, also part of the bigger course. And now I have 3 lessons. I cannot cover anything almost. I can just scratch the surface, and I am always saying, so you need to read this, you need to read this, you need to read this, you need to read this. This just shows to me how complex it is. And I'm not saying that back in 2000, it was like very simple, but this was more IT world problem or challenge or something that we need to solve. There were issues, of course, but nowadays, this is already business challenge. And all businesses need to understand, business people need to understand what's behind data, how to use them, how to integrate, how to visualize, how to present, etc., 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 etc. And then, of course, there is IT part also. And talking about black boxes here, where I'm going with this, you were very, very right. So artificial intelligence and all those solutions and services, they will be successful if we will have quality data, we will have seamless integrations, and then we will also have good results. And one more important thing, and not only in healthcare, but especially in healthcare, we all know that for algorithms that are learning from data, we need quality data, not only in terms of that they reflect the world as it is, but we also need to make sure that there are no biases, that we are covering all the different groups. This really represents the population where we afterwards want to use those services. So without data and without making them in the right order and putting the basics, we will not really be able to talk about quality services that AI as a technology can provide us. So that's why it's very, very important. And also when we are talking from Microsoft perspective, so this is where we start our discussion always. So this is about making the data estate seamlessly integrated so that we can build on top of this, both AI solution, but not only, also for internal healthcare institution efficiency, also need data. So there are clinical data, there are operational data. So data and data estate is the base. This is where we need to start.
Okay, and I think I could talk for hours with you, because I agree so much also with what you are saying, and I lived that, on for years, because the point you mentioned in your earlier discussion also about, we need IT people that understand the business. We had this discussion since years in IT, to have a seat at the table. I think we should not talk about it. There is no discussion. There's no point about that. That's a must, and And we have still too many organizations, where you have these silos. You have IT or the business on the other side, and then there's it's so difficult, And I think for me personally, that was what I loved. It is doing only IT without talking to the business. For me, it's not interesting. You need to talk to the business to understand, and then so I think that's today that became even bigger, as you mentioned. Of course, you still can have a few people that only know technology, pure technology, but it's still better if you know the use of that technology, what you do with that technology, and what is the challenge that you solve on the other side. And I'm sure I'm talking about some of your customers, but I think it's the same internally at Microsoft. You can have maybe a piece that are only techies, but having techies that understand the business, that's what makes the difference.
Definitely. And I'm very, very lucky, because when I was a student, I remember one of my professors said, IT systems are only to support business processes. They are not here because we need information system. We need to understand the process, and then we can build a system. And this stayed with me, and this is staying with me all my life. But reflecting on what you just said about having seat at the table and talking the same language, I think what we need to do also as IT people, we need to talk language that business people understand. And we need to be able to transform our narrative around what technology can give into real business outcomes. In this case, that how this exactly will improve patient life or doctor life or nurse life or any other. I think this is on both sides. So we need to learn, if we can say, their language, and we started our discussion with digital upskilling for healthcare professionals, and they need to learn about what technology can bring to the table and how to use it, and what does it mean. Now I am just, improvising, but I think this is like a new language that both sides will speak, and then we are as one, because we cannot be two sides. We need to be one organism who is really making this change. But yeah, on both sides, we need to learn how to understand better and how to talk each other language.
So thank you for your improvisation. I like that. I said I'm also, just going with the flow, and it's very interesting. And I think we understand each other very well. And I give you an example, concrete example of what you're just saying. So recently, I changed my personal doctor, because the previous one got retired, after COVID and all that. I think it was now enough for him to get retired. But I remember one of my last conversation with him was when he told me during a consultation that people are saying that AI is going to replace the doctors. And I said, oh my God, and then I gave him 20 minutes of consultation, and that was the point about saying, no, AI is not going to replace the doctor. It is about removing non-added value tasks to you, simplifying some of your pre-work and everything, so that you can use your human time as a doctor with the human patient, and these are just simple examples, but there is also, let's say, a propaganda on the market also throwing this bad information out there, that competition between AI and doctors, while it should come together, is a combination. And that happens for doctor, that happens for patients. So again, back to your early discussion, this need for education, so that people are not afraid and see the benefit of that.
Yeah, I agree. And I can also, I was just listening to you, and it was reminding one of the examples from Nuance, and maybe those who want to check how impressive it looks. I think those video you can find on internet, that doctor can talk to patients like face to face, not looking into screen and typing something, making the note, because natural language processing technology, also so one type of AI, allows to do transcription immediately into electronic health record, and it gives so much time back to focus on patient instead of looking at the screen and I'm talking to you, but I'm making notes and like looking there, so I'm not focused on you. And this is, I think, where the real value comes. So doctor will be there, of course, but then there are those things that can be done by technology. And also, in the same nuance, you will. I think it's the same video where there is also the advice based on the latest medical publications, and again, doctor is making decision, but it's so much easier when you have the summary of what are the latest discoveries in the area. I think this is the way how we need to think about augmentation, not replacing something.
Exactly, and patient make so often wrong assumption too, like if you do a blood test before going to the doctor, they have the feeling that the doctor was looking at your test for more than 1 hour and 2 days before. Sometimes, most of the time, he's just opening the record at the time you're there, and that's where, as you said, all this technology could help upfront, and giving just kind of summary or insights or whatever about what the results are.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I said, very interesting discussion. So let's move on maybe on something more. And maybe still a short parenthesis, because I think we all talk also a lot about blockchain. So I don't want to have, again, we could have a whole session about blockchain too, also, with people from Microsoft. But my comment about blockchain was relating to what you said before. I'm talking about blockchain since quite some years, but not about the cryptocurrency piece, more about, the whole technology. So the smart contracts, immutability, all that stuff, And for years at the beginning, technology companies had trouble to find blockchain expert. And you know why? It was exactly because of what we said before about understanding also the business. Because, to program, to work with blockchain, it's not just coding. The coding is quite simple. It's like HTML or whatever, if then, so the coding is simple, but blockchain applications are done, you need to understand the business, the process, and what is the outcome. So today, I think we have now more and more expert, but that was one of these gaps, not having those skills about people understanding IT and the business.
Yeah, and I cannot say that we have solved this. General, I think, as I said, and I'm very happy to see that medical universities, that they are starting to have technology courses also in their syllabus and curriculums, but it will take time. As we know, doctors are studying for a very long period, and they have to be like, to make it simple, very packed agenda while they're studying. And to add the technology aspect there, that is very important, of course. It takes quite a reorganization in the way how these programs are structured. And I think this will take time. On the other hand, we shouldn't wait till we have those new specialists. I think we need to invest in those that are existing, work together, learn from each other. We as technology experts learning from doctors and vice versa. And that's why I was talking about partnerships, because this is how we can make the impact quicker than just working in parallel.
Yeah, maybe that's just some lights going on in my head, regarding some kind of macro level thing. That the younger generation, now talking in general, is very, since years, is very keen to join, big companies, like Microsoft, because there is innovation. Of course, Google, Amazon, all that. That was definitively a very easy trend. Huh? That's what their dream. They are dreaming of doing this kind of jobs, because there's a lot of innovation, a lot of interesting new technologies coming out. On the other side, the trend into healthcare got a big push because of COVID. That was not really the case before. So COVID helped a lot, and not just push into healthcare, but into healthcare and technologies. So I'm even afraid today, sorry to say that, it's maybe not the right message, I'm even afraid today that it could slow down now, because COVID is more or less not completely forgotten, but it's going away. So how can we keep this momentum still alive, and that we don't go back to what it was before COVID?
I think that we will not go back where we were, because we all discovered, both healthcare professionals and patients, that we can do things differently. It doesn't mean that, because during COVID times it was extreme, because we need to have these face-to-face visits also. So it was total extreme. So we will not be like this, I hope. But the right balance that we will find, that I do not need to go each and every time, but I need to go where it's really needed. And this is one thing why I believe, because we learned that this is possible, and also statistics actually shows that we are still using those remote channels, for example. The second thing is that really on a daily basis, healthcare industry and also life science industry see the value from integrated data, and they more and more use this to create new insights or new services or new products. And as we are doing together this more and more, we are getting better. So look at the last year, 2022, breakthroughs in healthcare for new patient treatments for specific diseases. There are quite a lot, and almost all of them are AI. There is AI somehow involved. Yeah. So it means that we are getting step by step into this direction, and I don't think that this can go back. But the question is whether we are doing this at the right speed. What should be done in order to make it faster, more efficient, like seamless in a way. So maybe this is something that we need to think about. So what would be helpful? Is it really just having those learning and development programs, or this is more about really working together in a very focused way in different partnerships, or maybe this is something else? Very
interesting. And again, let's stay now on this topic, maybe more on the younger generation, because I think I'm still a little bit frustrated because, the way it works at the Western world is still like, you have this generation. So technology, new things are coming with the generation, and it's always difficult to bring on board the previous generation, which in healthcare is quite a huge topic because, luckily, I think you are healthier when you're younger and you become more sick when you're older. So the challenge to get the older generation on these new technologies in healthcare is, of course, bigger. And I was always impressed, when I had some exchange, with China, how good China was in getting the older generation, internet savvy and all that kind of things. And I think the answer is quite simple. In China, they still keep the grandparents, at home and all that. So they are exposed to all the generations, from the grandchild to the child and all that. So they see when they are on WeChat, then the grandparent go WeChat too. And unfortunately, in the Western world, we have quite often our grandparents, in elderly homes and not at our homes and things like that. But okay, that's just my personal frustration, but I think you're right, with this younger generation, we are not going to go back. We will rather move. And again, the challenge is at what pace, because the pace is you say maybe it should be quicker. I think for the moment, I think some of that stuff is quite impressive in terms of pace. If you talk about things like metaverse or whatever, maybe 1 year ago, nobody was talking about, and now we have already quite some applications. So I think let's talk about two topics. One is about living longer, which is bringing a challenge, and the other is about living healthier. So, of course, the best is you can bring both together, longer and healthier, but how do you see those challenges, because again, there are different things coming because we live longer, we have more Alzheimer, we have maybe more Parkinson and all that, but also the challenge of living longer and healthier, which is something which is very close to the heart, of the health, So what are you thinking about that challenge?
I will start with elderly people, first of all. And you are very right that younger generation, of course, adapt all the new innovation technologies, applications. So it's very easy. But we need to be very careful because we cannot leave people behind. This is where I started our discussion with accessibility. And we need to use technology in order to make sure that also those that maybe do not have enough digital skills, they need maybe a different approach. The technology also helps them. And there are already great examples. And we are talking about home care. Technologies with sensors, emergency buttons, remote monitoring. This is already working. And I think this is super good news for us that this works already. And we have examples here in Czech Republic where Microsoft partners created the solution. So it's all around the world we can find. So it works. So this is good. But this is not the end of the story. As you said, so we will be living longer and we want to live also healthier. And here again, we see actually how technology can help. There is this, I think it's quite recent trend that is called healthcare consumerization. We do not want to become patients. We are healthcare services customers. It means that we do not want to be even in this part when where we are going to the doctor and then you're having those care process that we need to follow, but we are preventing. A lot of things can be prevented. I think technology here, with all the nudging that. So we are counting our steps. We know our blood pressure. We can monitor what are the potential risks, and we can do so much more in order to live healthier. And it just needs to become a habit. The thing with younger generations, I think, in many cases, they are actually but using technology more, so they are utilizing more of those different advices and nudges to help them. But again, here we need to be again careful, because not everyone has access to those technologies and service at the same extent. So we need to make sure that we are providing access to as many people as possible. So so it will be always, balance that we need to think about here. And yeah, technology is there, it can help, but we need to think how to make it accessible for everyone.
Yeah, so thank you very much. I think this balancing is the biggest challenge, because for many reasons. And I like what you said, because I was saying since years, coming from the pharma industry, that we didn't do healthcare, we did sick care. I'm sorry to say that, but basically, they expect people to become patient, to be sick, so they can sell drugs. While what the community wants is to be healthy, and exactly then moving into wellness and preventive care. And I think that trend will become bigger and bigger. It's already big and should be bigger, but because that's the way about not becoming sick. And the pharma industry, as some of the other partner in the ecosystem, will have to find their way so that they can also support that there's also benefit from them and not only selling pills. And my last point about what you said about not leaving people behind, I think I would still remind that, the internet access worldwide is still not where it should be. It's something like 60% worldwide, and then very different from continent to continent and country to country. But that should still not hold us on from moving on with the one that have access, but not forgetting, as you said, that we still have to make progress to bring more and more people on board that were not on board before. So I think we should conclude maybe, because we could talk for hours. So what would be your last word, or recommendation? So your last word about, your key focus, your closing words, whatever, and maybe some recommendation for DeHealth, what should DeHealth focus on?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this discussion. So it was great, and we really, I think, can talk for hours. And I'm very happy that DeHealth is doing this and talking about better care for everyone, and really looking what's behind it. So what we need to do. So if you can continue doing what you do, and I know that you are also working with so many customers around the world, and I think this is the right thing to show what technology really can bring and how this can positively influence the quality of care. I think it's a great work, and thank you for doing this. And my takeaway from this discussion and maybe reflection is that we need to talk. This is one. Share what we know on both sides, or not many sides that are here to really help to provide better care. But we shouldn't be afraid to do things, because one thing is when we discuss and it sounds good, it sounds promising, but then the real story starts when we are starting to do something, to implement. And my wish would be that all our healthcare providers, they just do this step by step, scenario by scenario, and use the technology, ask for support, ask for advice, challenge back what is not working, what should be working differently, but just keep this rhythm. Because we all are learning. There is no one right solution or no one right roadmap how to do this. We need to go step by step and learn from each other, use, improve, and this is how we will achieve better care for everyone.
So thank you so much, Renate, for this amazing discussion. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward for our next discussion, but thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for really, really great discussion. I enjoyed it.